Today, we're finishing up our series talking to the 2025 PMEA All-State Festival guest conductors. All coming up on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. I'm Mark Despotakis. As I mentioned, we are concluding our series today, talking to all 6 of the PMEA 2025 All-State guest conductors, and we are kicking things off today talking concert band with our All-State concert band conductor, Jason Noble. Jason, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with, I always, tell everybody, it's much easier for you to do than me to do, because you're going to do a better job at it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm in my 25th year of teaching. I'm an associate professor at the City University of New York's Lehman College, where I teach mostly graduate students to be future band directors and orchestra directors. And I also conduct the wind ensemble at Columbia University in New York City. But before that, I was a high school band director for 20 years, and high school band, and specifically all-state band, is very near and dear to my heart. So I'm really happy to be here, and very committed to music education and band education specifically.
Love it. All right. So then so you love all-state bands. So let's talk about the 2025 PMEA All-State Concert Band. What are some of the highlights of the musical program you've selected?
Yeah, so the program is really diverse. It's kind of what I like to call a tapas model. So if you've ever been to a tapas model, tapas restaurant, it's kind of where you see the food and you think, gosh, I don't know if that's related, but then it is. So it's when you combine all the music together, it creates this beautiful meal. It's really rich with flavor. I will tell you, Mark, one of the biggest things that I agonize over is programming, and I'll just transform. I'll take everybody back about almost 30 years now. I learned everything that I know about picking music that motivates and transforms people and changes lives from my mentor, Professor Gary Green, from the Farrar School of Music at the University of Miami. And one of the things that he taught me is that you have to really think about stuff that will sit with people a long time, and the music that will really stand the test of time. So that's one of the things that I tried to do with this program. And I always try to program at least one work that nobody's ever heard, nobody's ever performed, and at least one work that intellectually challenges just about everybody, and one work that's just pure joy and love. So think about your dog or your cat or just somebody that you just love. And so I think this program will inspire just about everybody. These are transformative experiences for musicians. And if it's okay with you, can I just kind of walk everybody through
Absolutely.
each one of the pieces?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is kind of, so if you imagine, we're going to start with this first piece. It's called The Last Flight Out. It's brand new. Nobody's ever heard of it. So we fulfill that idea that we want to have at least one piece that nobody's ever heard. PMEA will be the first band in the state of Pennsylvania, and I think it will still be the first one in the US to perform it. I'm just about to premiere it in a few weeks in Australia with the Australian National Army Band. And it's written by my friend Kathy Lakuta, and it's about the energy, the feeling, and the enthusiasm and the antics and the excitement that happens when you're in a hurry and you're constantly in motion and you're running to get to the last flight out at the airport. So she's a brilliant Ukrainian Australian composer she's become one of my best friends in the music world, and she just has this really unique voice and compositional flavor, and I think more people need to hear and play her music. So this piece is kind of the way that I see it right now, from just getting the music. She just finished it. It's kind of a microcosm of American life, or kind of if you think of life in a fast lane or life in the techie AI world this day, a lot of percussion, a lot of adrenaline. But I call it's not the kind of like blast you in the face with all at once style. Kathy, as far as her endless energy, I worked with her before. I've commissioned her before, so I'm really excited to do this consortium premiere with PMEA. I think it'll sound amazing with a giant band, and it'll engage everybody on both an intellectual, technical, and aesthetic level. And Kathy will actually be able to Zoom with the students on the piece.
Great.
So that's the first piece. Then we're going to move on to John Mackey's beautiful piece. It's called This Cruel Moon, and it's based on the immortal thread so weak from Wine Dark Sea, which is his epic, big symphony for band. Symphony for band would be too long for this program, but this movement is a haunting retelling of the Odyssey's Calypso episode. So just really quickly, the story is that after rescuing Odysseus from the sea, the nymph weaves their 7-year love story into a tapestry. So this is sort of, again, the tapas thing, but now it's tapestry. And when he chooses to leave, she transforms her artistry into his means of escape. So she's unraveling the tapestry to create a sail to send him home. And I think John does such a beautiful job of writing haunting and evocative chord progressions. They almost feel like they're melting into and hugging each other. And I've found that doing this piece with a gigantic symphonic band is just gorgeous. It's kind of paradoxical because I think the piece sounds the best if you do it with either one on a part, like a really proper wind ensemble, or a big giant symphonic band. And PMEA All-State, as you know, is huge. So I think it's just going to sound just glorious. It'll just sound like these beautiful sounds giving hugs to each other. And thing about John is that a lot of people that have played his music, they play his complex rhythmic music. There's a joke that goes around that he walks in 7/8 time, like da 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 da. So, but I think his slow and beautiful music there's just something about it. Every time I hear his slow and beautiful music, it warms my soul. And I think that I can't wait to explore these colors with the students and how they move across time and space. And I tell you, when he writes a soft part, he means it. And same thing when he writes a loud part. So I think the emotional impact will be stunning. So that's our second piece. And after that, we're going to move on to Ryan George's work, Firefly. And it doesn't get played as much as it used to. So I thought this would be a neat little middle of the program piece. And it's about imagination and possibilities, which are two of my favorite things. And I have a 7-year-old daughter. I'm also a girl dad. And Ryan, when he wrote the piece, it was about an encounter that he had with his 4-year-old daughter at the time. And it's about the way that children see the world. And I just think it's beautiful because if we can put our minds in a different spot, kind of a willing suspension of disbelief, we can do great things with music. So it's just a different way of stimulating ourselves musically. So the idea, he said, and I'm going to read one of his quotes. I'm actually going to read it. He said, "I'm amazed at how children use their imaginations to transform the ordinary and normal into the extraordinary and fantastic. Just about anything they come across can be used to spark their fantasies and usher their minds into unseen worlds." So I found that so many pieces that stand the test of time are inspired by people or causes or things that we love and that we believe in. And like I said, she was only 4 years old at the time, and she had just become mesmerized by a firefly that had walked into their front yard. So it's just an average little, encounter that a dad would have with his daughter. And Ryan asked her, what did she think about this firefly? And she looked at her dad and said, "Dad, that's not a firefly, that's Tinkerbell." And she's come to take me with her on an adventure. So I was thinking, what a great story. And I just love the description. And I love the way that he wrote this piece because it's minimalist and it's got these beautiful ideas. It's a real quick sort of flighty kind of piece. And it lets your mind run wild. So I think for top level musicians, high school musicians, it normally gets played by college musicians, but this will be a great piece. And then after that one, our next to last piece is, I think, the most deep and reflective piece that we have on the program. It connects all of these ideas we've had so far in the program on both an orchestration and harmonic level. And it's kind of the idea of falling leaves, moving parts, passing people by, and the idea that every person and every individual matters. And this is sort of the theme that I'm hitting at in this program. And it's a new crown jewel in the band repertoire. The work is called Deciduous, and it's by Viet Quang, who's a brilliant composer from my home state of Georgia. And he was pushed emotionally to write the piece after the loss of his father. It's sadly something that I share with Viet. I lost my father as well. But I don't share his ability to compose. I just try, as conductors, we try to do our best when there's a genius composer like him to do the music justice. And so, keeping with the tapas model, it's not programmatic. So it's not, I can't stand to do strictly programmatic music like this is the moment where this happens. Or, it's much more ethereal and evocative, where people can create their own storylines and think about something, or a thing or a cause or an idea that matters. And so I'm going to read a quote from Viet as well about the piece, and I think it just encapsulates the piece well. He says, healing is not as much of a linear process as it is a cyclical journey, where without fail, every leafless winter is followed by a spring. So if you think about that, every leafless winter, when the leaves die away one by one, spring returns, and we regrow, and we make it, and we build ourselves back up. So the piece kind of does that. It has this these interesting things where the theory that I think of is you matter, music matters, and we engage in a process of grief through peeling back the leaves and layers until there's not much left. And it's just brilliant. So I'll leave it there to leave some, some, gosh, I wonder where that's going. And it's something that I think, like everything he writes, it's brilliant. The guy is just absolutely brilliant. And it's something that top serious musicians should play. So it's worthy of playing at an All-State. And Viet is one of the best out there with orchestration texture. I feel like you can feel, smell, and taste when you hear and play this music. And the mallets and the percussion, you'll see this. Hopefully you'll see, if it's live streamed, the All-State performance, you can see how the mallets really interact. It's almost like a heartbeat, but also a pulse and also a melodic content. Just genius stuff. And it should be played by the genius musicians in the All-State band in Pennsylvania. And as my mentor, Gary Green, would say, this piece is going to change your life. So after that, obviously that's a really heavy piece that I think will leave everyone just kind of gasping. And so we have to close with just pure joy and love and affirmation that music matters, and that you matter, and that people matter, and that that celebration matters, that music is supposed to be exciting and fun. And one of my favorite pieces for that is based on Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and it's by Timothy Marr. It's called Fantasia in G. And it's also one that I don't think gets played enough anymore. It's just beautiful. It's very tonal. It's gorgeous. It has all these solos who are kind of individuals experiencing joy, but then the full band experiences joy. But it also gives you space and latitude to think. And again, it doesn't bang you over the head and tell you how to feel. It doesn't say, you're going to experience joy right now. Here you go. So I've loved the work since I was in high school. It was written in the 1980s, and it doesn't get played often. It's a gem. So that's a rundown on the program. And I think it'll take everybody through a journey, and it'll leave everybody with something that they'll remember. And it's something that a lot of thought goes into. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
Yeah, I love the variety of it, and I will say, I'll speak from experience. I played Fantasia in G and a PMEA honors ensemble, many years ago. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, what a great piece of music, for sure. And I don't hear it out there. You're right. I don't really hear it out there that much. So we're looking forward to hearing that. So you touched on this just a little bit, but I want you to maybe dive a little bit further. What are you hoping students are going to get out of this experience about being in the All-State Concert Band?
That's a wonderful question. So they already are the very best musicians in the state of Pennsylvania. So my biggest hope is that every student feels like they matter, and that all this work that they've put in, because it's 100% that they put in every day to be selected for this ensemble, to be the very, very best in the state, that they know that it's 100% worth it. All the time, the effort, the love, the sweat, the tears, the heartache, the triumph, because this is a triumph, being selected to be the very best in your state. I think the more that I keep doing this, that we have to remind everybody that music is supposed to be something that brings us joy. but it also makes us better people. And we need more joy and love these days. So I try to make sure that every student knows that they feel welcomed, loved, respected, and valued. And so I think it's really interesting, the group dynamic when you come to All-State, because just about everybody is principal chair in their in their school back home. So everybody's first chair or whatever instrument they play. And the first question everybody in their mind is, how am I going to function when I'm used to leading the whole band back home? So I always engage everybody in how do we listen to and across the ensemble and to and from each other. And the big thing that probably all of your conductors are going to say this, the big homework each day is not go and play all your music. It's get to know 3 to 4 students every time we take a break. Ask them a question about their lives. Get to know them, get to know something about them, because it's a memory of a lifetime in All-State, and you make friends that you'll never see, that you would have never seen, but now you're going to see them for the rest of your life. And it's all about, I think, opening doors, building bridges, and making connections. So that's what I try to do through the music.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so let's get into your head a little bit. What is this like for you to come in and stand in front of an honors ensemble like this, an ensemble that has never played a single note together, has never met you, as you just pointed out, not really met each other. What is that like for you walking in there at, that first downbeat?
It is a combination of absolute excitement for me, because I love the idea of constant change and constant meeting new people. So none of that scares me. But more than that, it's the ultimate honor for me, because none of the technical stuff worries me at all, because these are the best of the best. For me, honor bands and being a member, so my home state was Georgia. I grew up in Georgia, and I was a member of the Georgia All-State Band twice. And this was in the mid 1990s, and it was the highlight of my musical career growing up. And it's a huge reason why I became a high school band director and then a college band director and music ed professor. So I can tell you right now, all these years later, exactly what program we played, who conducted, how I felt, who sat around me. And I can tell you how scared I was that my reeds would warp, or that my G sharp key wouldn't properly vent. I had all these weird things that would happen, and all these other things. Like I can tell you every feeling, and I can tell you, yes, the intellectual, the aesthetic. These are like really formative experiences that people have. And so for me, going back now all these years later and conducting an all-state band, it's the honor of a lifetime for me, to stand in front of any honor band. Because when I was in high school, a lot of high school students, they dream of being somewhere else. High school students sometimes have a problem of living in the present. And for me, it was always the idea of music, going to these, I call them the utopian honor bands, because everything sounds so good, all-state festivals, all this. And band especially, we all know it. It's kind of like, it's a family, it's an essence, it's a feeling, it's a thing. And we kind of all speak the language and the prose of band. So anytime that I get to be around a bunch of band people, I feel home, no matter where it is. It doesn't matter if it's in Pennsylvania or if I was in Australia recently, or South Africa, or the UK, or anytime that I'm around band members, I feel home. So that's what, so for me, it's just the ultimate honor, and it's the ultimate making sure that I want to give back that same experience that I had.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right, so let's end it out with this. You said you always program a fun part of your concert. Let's program a fun question here. What's one thing you would want all of those students to know about you before they show up and before they're there again for that first downbeat? One thing about you?
The one thing about me is that I refuse to eat any fish at all, even though all of my family and all of my ancestors way back are like Scandinavian and everything, and we're supposed to like go and fish and stuff. I've just been one of those people, like I can't even eat fish sticks. I don't know. It's just one of those things. So if they bring me one of those, I'll be like, I'll be really, really polite, and I'll say, sorry, I can't. If there's anything else on the menu, I'm not allergic. It's just that it's one of those
Yeah.
things that I don't like.
Love it. All right. So there's your advice, everyone. Do not bring fish sticks and offer them to the conductor. I love it. That's probably the coolest answer we've gotten in all the years of doing this. So that's probably the most brutally honest answer. I love it.
I thought, because I was like, what can I say that's just brutally, unbelievably
Yeah.
honest? Yeah, because I like I said, I have a 7-year-old, and lately we've been going through food issues with her. And I said, you know what? I understand, because Ava, I will not eat fish at all. So if you want me to make you Dutch pancakes, but let's negotiate. You're gonna have a protein shake or something with protein.
Very cool. All right. Well, we all know you a lot better now. Yeah, after that, for sure. Jason, thanks for taking some time to talk to us. We're really looking forward to the concert band in just a couple weeks here in the Poconos.
Yes, can't wait. Thank
Thanks
you
again
so
for being with
much.
us.
All right.
And now moving on, we are talking about the All-State Chorus, and I'm delighted to have with us our 2025 All-State Chorus Conductor, Rollo Dilworth. Excuse me, that's a mouthful, I guess, even though I should know that with my last name. But Rollo, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. It's really nice to be here.
So let's get right into it. I think a lot of people in Pennsylvania know you, have certainly seen you at PMEA conferences, but many of the students that are going to be in the All-State Chorus may not know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, sure. So I live on the east side of the state of Pennsylvania, here in Philadelphia, where I am a professor of choral music education at Temple University. I also serve in an administrative capacity known as a vice dean. I have been in music education for, I think this is my 35th year of teaching or something like that, 35th year teacher. Started out as a middle school teacher and have always worked with youth choirs on various levels, and have been fortunate enough to conduct a number of all-state choirs through the years, and still continue to find lots of joy in working with young singers in particular, but also choirs of all ages. I do have 2 choirs here in the city, one called Singing City, and then a university-based choir called the Temple University Singing Owls.
I love it. All right. So yeah, we love the bit of the different background from middle school to higher ed. Awesome. All right. So we're totally looking forward to, as we always do, the All-State ensembles and their performances. So talk to us about the musical program you've selected for the 2025 All-State Choir course, I guess is the right word.
Sure.
Right?
I'm really excited about this program. I love to program thematically. And the theme of our concert is identities, or maybe a subtitle would be What's in a Name? Because all of the music sort of points to or centers around a person. The first piece that we're going to do is entitled Identities, written by my colleague here at Temple University, Dr. Paul Reardon. And it has a series of I am statements, and it's very rhythmic, and it's really, really cool. And I think it will be a great way to start off the program in a very sort of generic sense. And then we go to a Chinese folk song called Jasmine Flower. And the translation is basically, oh, how lovely you are, my beautiful jasmine flower, how I admire thee. So that will take us to China. And then the next piece is entitled El Cumbanchero. It's in Spanish. That will take us to Puerto Rico. And a cumbanchero is a person basically who is like a partier, a party goer type person who loves to party and dance. And then we'll do a piece called Sally Gooden, which is a Southern folk tune, and we'll have a fiddle player with us. And it is arranged by Ken Berg, and it's basically about my sweetheart, Sally Gooden. The next piece by Eleanor Daly is entitled The Bridge Builder. It's based on a wonderful poem about who this old man is as a bridge builder, making himself connected to a younger person who he feels a certain responsibility to sort of pave the way and create a type of world and community and society that will enable this young person to be successful and to thrive. So there's a real powerful lesson in that. And then the final piece is an arrangement of two spirituals put together. The name of the piece by yours truly is called Daniel, and it combines Daniel, Daniel, servant of the Lord, with another spiritual, which is entitled Daniel. So I'm really excited about that piece, and that's going to be our program. So I hope that there'll be lots of opportunity for discussion and immersion into what each of these pieces I think can offer historically, culturally, and musically to these students.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, taking that perspective, and just from hearing those short descriptions, I think it's these students are going to get a lot out of learning just more than the notes on the page, as we say, and those stories. So, can you talk a little bit about what are the things that you're hoping that those students that are in that All-State Chorus are going to get out of this ensemble?
I hope that they learn a lot of things, but I really want them to be challenged to perhaps advance their musicianship skills. So the pieces are, I say, would say moderately difficult in their construction. Although one piece, Il Cubanchero, has a lot of jazz chords in it and syncopated rhythms. So I hope that this will challenge the students in their musicianship. But I think that it also, I hope the program will give the students a wider and sort of more global understanding of the different types of choral music that's out there, and how we can learn different languages, we can learn different vocal styles in order to make this music really come to life, and to present it in a way that has integrity, and that has what the scholars sometimes refer to as cultural validity, and that we really bring those learnings to the table in a way that helps the students to walk away feeling as though they have really had a very varied set of experiences with the music, particularly from an historical and perhaps a cultural lens.
So you have certainly stood in front of many honors ensembles in your career. Um, I like to get into conductor's head. You know, what is that like for you? These students who have, in many instances, not met each other, certainly have never performed together, and are all coming together uh, for just a few days together. What's that like for you, being the one tasked with, making that all happen?
That's a great question. I think it's really an exciting opportunity for the students, certainly, to build community and make connections to other young people across the state who are just as passionate about choral music as they are. I think for me, as the conductor teacher, it's an opportunity for me to find ways, hopefully creative ways, musical ways for sure, to begin to bring all of these experiences from across the state together in a way that allows us to build community, that allows us to build a sound that will be very unique to this choir and will never be replicated again, given that we won't ever probably have the same combination of people in the room singing together again. So it's very exciting for me. It's always a little bit of a challenge to get things started because I'm having to just get them focused, begin to think about vowel unification, begin to get them all thinking in terms of the same process or vocabulary as far as vocal production is concerned, getting the students to think about perhaps my interpretation of how this music is going to be performed, and just giving them some basic, rules of the road for general musicianship as we move through the process over a couple of days time. So all of those things have to happen simultaneously, while at the same time hoping that I'm creating an atmosphere that is enjoyable for them, because after all, it's a long and rigorous process over those few days to get this program ready for the public.
Yeah. it's a short time span, but also it's a long process that happens in that short time span for sure. So we know a lot of students are watching this podcast because they want to get the insight on their conductors before they show up to that first rehearsal. So, what is one thing you would want those students that are watching or listening to know about you before that first rehearsal in the Poconos?
Wow, what's the one thing that they want that I would want them to know about me? Um, well, I think they will probably see me as their conductor, and I'm sure they will be respectful of me as their conductor. But I want them to know that I'm a teacher first. And I think that that's the lens through which I approach my work. Because oftentimes, when you think of a conductor, you sometimes think of someone who's unapproachable and very much, sort of distant from the ensemble. But as a teacher, I see myself as someone who wants to be very connected to the ensemble, who wants to always be mindful of their needs and their growth and their experience. And I definitely want to see myself. I definitely want to be seen as someone who is approachable. So I think that's something that's very important for me.
All right, awesome. Well, we are looking forward, as always, to the All-State Chorus. It's coming up on us quickly here in just a few weeks. So, Rollo, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the Poconos soon.
Thank you so much, Mark.
And thank you all for joining us on this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. That wraps up our series, speaking with all of the PMEA 2025 All-State Conductors. We want to thank our sponsor, the Grove City College Department of Music. We'll see you next time.